Absolutely, I understand that. And that was my first objection when I saw that. Immediately, since I have, well, for over 20 years, I am a community leader at the grassroots level. I have participated, as I stated here, on many political campaigns. I know that there is no commonality between, and I mean, I have friends there. But today, whether we want to admit it or not, people are still polarized in their voting. And I have seen elections being won from that particular area, west of 8th Avenue, and completely overwhelming the majority of the other precincts east. And when I saw that, I knew that it would disenfranchise both of these two so-called functional Hispanic opportunity districts, and I immediately opposed that. As soon as I saw it, yes. And so in fact, if this is approved the way it is, absolutely no doubt in my mind, we are not going to be able to elect or give the people in those two precincts an opportunity to select a candidate of their choice, simply because there's no commonality. Again, this is what communities' interest is all about. I mean, I'm a president of a neighborhood association, and we have other neighborhood associations, but when we talk about communities of interest, we're talking about representation, about voting rights. That's what we're talking about. And I mean, it's at a much higher priority than just neighbors or for some other reason, or attendance zones and so forth. It goes beyond that. And that's the basis of, and I mentioned that when I spoke earlier today. And again, this is, I'm not a racist or anything like that, but the fact is that today in this city, we have a large percentage of people who are polarized in their voting. Not just whites. I'm not saying that. Hispanics, blacks, there's still a lot of polarization. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. We have to deal with that. If you want to give Hispanics an opportunity to sit up there, then you have to accept this. Otherwise, there's a very good chance that we will probably only have one. I'm absolutely certain of this. I have looked at the numbers over and over. The political campaigns over the last 20 years, I know, not just school elections, but city council elections. The same problem that we have in the city, in City Council District 9. Those precincts west of 8th Avenue have overwhelmed the other ones. And I have seen the effect of that out there at the grassroots level. I'm sorry to say that. I have seen it, or I have been told this is a political issue, and I have to stay with this other group because they elect me to office. I have heard that. I've actually heard that. You think there's no racism, but that's just the way it is. Even though that politician who told me that, I know him well, is not a racist, but he had to, and that's what this is all about, political power. And do you think that it's fair to have Hispanics, when this Fort Worth ISD's student population is over 60% Hispanic already, to at least have a few more, or the opportunity? It's up to the people. I'm not advocating that Hispanics be elected from there, but I'm advocating for those people to have the opportunity to select anyone they want to, and they will not have it within 9K. And that's why we changed it to the 9K revised, and the other ones previous to that. There's no doubt in my mind about it. Any other questions? So you see how I feel about this? When you're hit out there with the realities of these politics, then you will probably feel what I feel, what I have felt, and that's why I'm here. 16 hours a day of work.
We understand.
Okay?
We understand.
Okay, I'm
Thank you, Mr.
sorry.
Flores.
Thank you.
I get kind of carried away.
See.
Dr. Vasquez?
Well, Mr. Robbins, I don't understand why you say that we haven't listened to this advisory committee, because it's an advisory committee. They weren't supposed to tell us exactly what we were going to do. They were going to advise us, and then we were going to decide. I think that was a clear objective from the beginning. But these two maps are 97% the same. There's very little difference between the Plan 9K and the 9K revised. It's a few precincts being moved. That's all. So all this yelling and all this clapping is people upset because they're not getting their way like they usually are. Bottom line.
Both made the comment that 9K would result in only one Hispanic Opportunity District rather than the two that we have right now. I think I've heard you all say that the plan that the committee came up with and proposed, 9K, would result in 3 Hispanic Opportunity Districts. Would you each individually respond to the conundrum between the two positions?
Absolutely. And actually, I think what might be most illustrative is if you look in the small binders that have been placed at each of your stations. It's dated October 11th, 2011. And if you would go to the very last chart that's in that binder, and it basically has 9K, 9J, and actually the plaintiff's compromise 2, which was the last map we had before this binder went to print this Friday. It lays side by side those numbers. But looking at the first side by side, 9K, if you look at the population figures, if you look at District 1, you will see that District 1 under 9K is 82.2% Hispanic. District 2 is 49.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I noticed that several of us here are lost.
What
Oh,
page?
I'm sorry. It's the very last page in your binder.
Mine looks like that.
I'm sorry, the actual binder, not the stapled document, but the actual
got it.
binder. Yeah,
Thank
the
you.
very
Sorry.
last page. It's a chart. Does everyone see the chart? And so, looking at the first column, which is entitled 9K, if you look at District 1, it's 82.2% Hispanic. Then looking at District 8, that is 64.4% Hispanic. And then new District 9 would be 58.5% Hispanic. When you're looking at the Voting Rights Act and doing a submission to the Department of Justice, you're looking at whether there has been retrogression. There was no District 9 in 2000. So what we're looking at is basically District 1 and District 8. How does that compare to our 8-1 map? Looking both at the 8-1 numbers based on our 2000 demography and also on our current 2010 demography. If you look at District 1 and District 8, we are superior under 9K, so there is no retrogression. And then we've created a new district, District 9, that's 58.5% Hispanic. And then we have an impact district, meaning a district that potentially in 10 years, so this is a 4th district, District 2, could be over the 50% mark, which is 49.5%. And I don't know if I stole any of your thunder, Mr. Williams.
No, that's okay. I just want to follow up on what you're saying. I guess one of the things, too, that I keep hearing the word talking about the Voting Rights Act. I went and got the Voting Rights Act. And I have a copy of it right here. And what I see in the Voting Rights Act, it talks about citizens of the United States. It talks about citizens more than anything else. But what we have done exactly what you asked us to do, talked about population. And as Ms. McBride stated just then, we have gone through that, and there is no retrogression in our plan, none whatsoever. Matter of fact, we have increased the participation for Hispanics in the 9K. What I do see in the revision, Ms. Moss, that is in our district, we have lost people. And what I see, and what I hope I'm wrong, but I see from the last time we had the meeting when Mr. Sims was talking about the fact he couldn't vote for anything that was under 50%. What I see from this, I don't care how they sum it up, but what I see from this, they took people from District 3, in essence, and put them in District 4 to make up the 50% that you were talking about. So I have a problem with them taking from one district to go to the other. Now, they may not say that because what they did, they actually went into about 8 or 9 different precincts and moved them. And so by moving them around, they were able to do that, but the bottom line comes to the point that you lost 1,000 people. That's the bottom line. And the percentages what we have here is that you, in 9K, we have taken under consideration communities of interest. We have taken under consideration people in regards to where they were and what they wanted. We have taken under consideration, like just at Pasco, we've taken the Oakhurst, we've taken Como, we've gone through all of that and tried to do the best we could. Now, I'm a little upset again because of the fact we presented 9J. The only thing about 9J that they disagreed with was the fact that 9J put 1095 over in District 8. Only thing. It only changed the population from 65.5% Hispanics to 64.5%. It changed it 1%. So that was what was talking about then. And then I also, hate to see what happened tonight. Someone bring up a map, a plan tonight, and then wants you to vote on it. And then we have some people on the board that would say, okay, that's good. We will take that one and we'll tweak that one, see if the demography is wrong. Well, we already have looked at this and know that the figures are not right. The figures are not right. But yet, and I guess the thing, it's really discouraging. It's real discouraging to have people to work as these people have worked and as the demographers have worked and as Ms. McBride has worked to make sure, number one, 9K satisfied all of the criteria that you all gave us to deal with. Every one of them. As a matter of fact, we supersede each one of those criteria, and we brought you back a map that was good. And as far as participation, population, again, someone said a while ago, we cannot make people vote. In other words, if you have the population, it's left up to you to get the people out. And we also looked at the voting age. The voting age in each one of these is over 50%. So anything that you would want to have, we have it here. And I guess it's just disturbing to see how you take a good map, and because of the fact that along with this, and I would say that Ms. Jackson should be the one that's upset completely. She should be just crying because her district, it's 49% Hispanic, 31% African American. That doesn't leave any Caucasians out there in her district. We have completely destroyed it. Now, the thing is, she's going to run because she knows that she's going to run and she's going to win. Because voting to me is based upon the quality of the person, not about numbers. And I guess that's where I'm really kind of confused because it seems like you want something that's, I don't know, given, but the point is 9K satisfies everything that you all ask us to do, and I know, and we know, that you are the last decision that left up to you.
Oh, first of all, I believe that the maps were sent out to all the board members by Mr. Rios, and they were, we try to get, I know that Salvador Espino asked the demographer to have them ready. The demographer was not able to get those ready for us on Friday because she wasn't available for whatever reason, and because yesterday was a vacation holiday. I don't think it was Mr. Rios' intention to keep the board from having these maps. But I'd like for Mr. Rios, I'm sorry?
You might have gotten it, but some of us didn't. They said she didn't send it to us on purpose.
Well, from what I understand, Mr. Rios, if you can come back to the table, I've got a couple of questions for you. I'd like for you to clarify whether these numbers actually came, because from my understanding, the numbers that went to Dr. Sims did not come from Christine Moss District. Where did they come from?
We got the population by splitting, see here, splitting 1083 came from District 2.
From District 2, which is actually Toby Jackson's district.
And if I,
So,
go ahead.
So, Mr. Williams, how can you say that that's inaccurate? Or you?
Oh, what I'm saying is this.
You just told Ms. Moss that they came from her district,
I'm
sir.
saying that basically the bottom line, I don't care how you do the figures and do all that, when you add all the figures up and come around and get her figures, she is 1,000 short. Because what happened, he took 1479 out of 2 and put in 9. He took 4253 out of 9, put in 1. He took 1076, put it out of 9 into 5. Took 1095 out of 8 into 5. Took 1432, 4 into 9. 1565, there's no population. 1475, he took it from 2 to 9. 4077, 9 to 8. Then 1083, the split he's talking about, 2 to part and 4. So I'm just saying this, that after you add all the figures up and you do all the switching around, she's 1,000 people short.
Weren't there a lot of districts that are shorter population because of one reason or another?
But we're talking about...
Dr. Vasquez, can I actually, just to show you where do you have a copy of Mr. Rios's map? And then did you get the demographic tables that go behind it? If you look at the page 2, which is the first demographic table, and if you look at the second table on that page, look at District 3. Do you see that number, the total population number of 26,751? And you see that the total percent African American is 52.6. If District 3 is supposed to, under 9K revised, it's supposed to look exactly like District 3 under 9K. If you'll go back to that chart, which is the last page in the binder, and look at 9K, if you look at District 3 under 9K, the total number of African Americans is 27,000, and the percentage of African Americans is 53.1. So something happened between 9K and 9K revised to District 3, and we just have to figure out where it is, because it's not showing up just looking at 9K revised.
And I think part of my motion was to make sure that we did that and we took care of that, right?
Well, I just wanted to answer your question about, where were we saying 1,000 people were missing? I just wanted you to see where the numbers
And one more thing for you, Mr. Williams. Did you feel the same way that you said earlier about the race relations and everything? Did you feel the same way in the 60s about race relations and how race didn't matter and everything else?
No, excuse me. Let me answer the guy, if you don't mind. Okay, in the 60s, we marched to make sure we could get into Piccadilly. We marched so we could get into the theater. We marched there. So, and then after that, we were able to get the things that we thought were right because we were fighting for the right. After that, we were able to serve on different boards. And as far as I'm concerned, I'll be honest with you, as far as I'm concerned, I've never had a problem being selected as the chairman or the president when a lot of times there might be 250 whites and Hispanics. I may have been only black, but yet I was because my whole point is this. It's not about the race. It's about the quality of the person and people voting. That's what this is all about.
Why does a 3% change? Why does a 3% change upset you so much? I don't understand.
No, a 1% change upset you and the other person. No, 1%. 1%. We're not talking about 3. We're talking about 1%. In that first map we had, 1% is what was the argument. We want to go back and do everything else. 9J was 1%. 1% was all. And you all could not stand that. You talked about race relations, all that. And hopefully we can. And you know what? The thing about all this, I've never heard y'all say anything about kids. It's the kids that this is all about. Yeah, it's not about you being reelected. We're not supposed to draw a map that makes you be reelected. We're supposed to draw a map that is right for the city of Fort Worth, and then the quality of the person will determine who elects them. That's what we're all about.
I don't think any of us really, just like you said, you served in this committee and you did it voluntarily. You've got to remember that we do the same thing up here. We take the abuse and everything. We do it because we feel, just like you, that we're doing the right thing for kids and the right thing for our community. So, most of us, there's, other than the box lunches we get here, and they're pretty ugly, there's not much that we get out of this other than to know that we're making a difference in our community, Mr. Williams.
Okay. Now,
So,
well, let me just say this.
so it's not about being
Bert,
reelected.
just a minute.
I have to say
The
one
audience
thing, Ray.
needs to calm down,
Let me
okay?
just
You
say-
may listen, but
okay.
please
Yeah.
don't
Can I say one
have
thing?
any outbursts.
What I heard the last time, and you made the statement about it's about power. You made the statement that blacks marched so they could get power. Now the Hispanics are wanting power. And that's what this is. You said this at the last time, that this was about power. And I hated to hear you say that.
I don't think I said it was about power, sir. I said it was about having a seat at the table and having the same influence as all the other
You
groups.
used the term power.
Well, that's what you want to make
No.
it. Whatever word it is that you want to use, sir. The point being is that we all deserve to have part of the process. And like I've said before, and you're not mentioning now, the last time I also mentioned that, in my district, where I represent, we had a city councilman that we elected time over time and that I voted for time over time, and that was Jim Lane. And just because we're saying this, look at me here. I'm the strongest advocate for having Mr. Dansby as the superintendent because I'm not looking at color. And the same individuals that are here sitting now fighting for this district changes to keep 9K the way it is were the same people that were here against them. So, put the colors together, buddy. Come on. We have a problem in Fort Worth, and we just don't want to talk about it.
Well, I'll talk.
Dr. Sutherland?
Thank you. I have a couple questions of Ms. McBride. First of all, I understand that we need to have this map looked at with a magnifying glass. And I understand that, isn't it true that the motion as it now sits, if voted positively, would protect any potential errors, and if there was retrogression or anything else, it would be brought back? Is that right?
I'd have to be refreshed on what the motion was.
Can you read the motion?
Can you read the motion back? Bertha, could you repeat the motion, please?
I can repeat it. Basically, it was to adopt 9K
Revised.
revised with the condition that if there were any major differences between the demographers concerning District 3, that those be fixed. By the demographers, both parties.
Yeah, we used your language on that. Okay, so I'm looking for a positive or negative statement about whether this map in that motion will guarantee that the map follows the law.
The motion, as I understand it, only addresses District 3.
No, it does
no.
not.
Okay.
The motion No, the motion was that we would adopt 9K revised with the proviso that it would be reviewed by the demographer, and if necessary, any problems would be brought back to the board at the next meeting.
Yes, concerning District 3.
It wasn't concerning District 3, it was concerning anything. Well, it isn't what he said.
Did you get the answer you were looking for?
I don't think I got the answer I'm looking for, but
Have clarification on what his motion was, because she says it's one thing, he says it's, yeah, that's
okay,
what
so
I'm
it's only
saying.
going to include District 3? Well, then, I want the whole map looked at carefully.
To
And
make
if
sure
it-
that it's accurate with the other one?
No, to make sure that it fits, it meets the requirements of the Civil Rights Act. And by the way, there's a lot of court cases that came after 1965. If you go through them, you'll find there's a lot of changes,
4.
Right.
4 changes.
not just 4.
No, it's 4. Here's in here.
Okay, so then my question is, will this guarantee that after the whole thing is done and it's been scrutinized and we've, if necessary, looked at it again, that it meets it meets the Civil Rights Act?
Well, and the reason why I can't say a yes or no is it may require tweaking that may not be to the plaintiff's liking, making it look a little bit more like 9K. So, I mean, we can bring back a map that we tweak that meets the Voting Rights Act, but I'm not for sure that we are not going to be right back here having similar arguments about who's right and who's wrong.
Okay. Let me change the subject a little bit. Now, I would like to know, one thing I did not hear tonight, and something that's of consequence to me, is to avoid a lawsuit by the plaintiffs. So I'm wondering whether the plaintiffs, if you, Mr. Flores, are willing to make a statement that, given the fact that this map is the way you want it, that it will avoid a lawsuit. It needs to be in the mic and on the record. Yeah, counsel says it's not binding, but I still want to hear it.
Simple yes.
Or yes or no, or whatever you want to say. I'm not supposed to lead the witness. It's one of the rules.
Well, I'll keep it very simple. Just a simple yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Flores.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. Dickerson. Thank
Ms.
you.
Needham?
Dr. Sutherland, based on the way you described Dr. Vasquez's motion, why would we cede the power to them to make changes without it coming back to us?
It's not. It has to come back to us if they make any changes.
Well, you didn't say it. That's not what he said. The motion is to let them make the changes.
No, it's not.
I would assume that if it passes, we would have to vote on it.
You know, it's funny. I just started bringing Robert's Rules of Order.
No,
One of the
just
things it
answer my
says is-
question. It's a simple question.
The question is, does it not have to be brought? It does have to be brought back, of course. This is the law right here. We are the ones that make
Well,
the
but
rules.
he just said y'all make the changes, and as long as it meets the law and the Voting Rights
No,
Act,
it needs to come back if they make
and
changes.
we wouldn't vote on it.
Okay.
How do y'all
It's up to you.
understand?
Well, I was talking about Ms. McBride
That's what I
and
mean.
Ms. Johnson make the changes.
But wouldn't we, if this passes, wouldn't, he's passing, he's voting for approval, we would be voting for approval of K revised, and we wouldn't get to vote on whatever they revise.
Bertha, you've heard the motion a couple times.
Conditional.
What is the legal consequences of the motion as it is on the floor if adopted? Would the board have the ability to come back?
That was, the way I heard Dr. Vasquez's original motion, that was not in the motion.
Well, I understand it.
That was not what I heard him say.
I have a little heartburn on that.
Well, if that's not, because I understood that we would come back, but why is it we just, I know you don't want to hear it, but why can't we just table it and Ms. McBride and Leslie look at the map and Ms. Jackson's area and bring that back and make sure District 3 is in order as it was in K.
You phrased that in the form of a question. Is
Yeah,
that a motion?
No, I wanted my colleagues to hear that. I know we are just so sick of this. the maps. But it's very difficult to vote on a map and you're not sure if we're going to be critiquing it or not. But if the board needs to decide if this is the last time we're going to bring this back, have Ms. Johnson and Ms. McBride take care of those tweaks in District 3 the way it was in K, and look at Ms. Jackson's area and bring it back, and I'd be willing to just vote, and everybody have to be here, whatever. I don't even know a resolution at this point.
Why don't you can she make an amendment to his amendment?
Yes.
To say that we bring this back and we vote on it if all this does pass?
What, Ms. Moss?
Can we hear from this council? I know I'm out of order.
I'm sorry.
I was going to suggest that you make a motion to postpone this matter until the next meeting. Then you wouldn't have to take it from the table or anything like that. So if you just postpone. No, because that would take.
Your motion can be amended, is what
No,
you're saying.
that motion, if she postpones it to a certain time, that takes precedence over your motion to amend.
I move that we postpone this and allow,
To the next meeting.
well, just cut it short, to the next meeting or a call meeting.
Is there a second to that motion? We have a motion and a second. Before we vote, we do have one member of the public that has signed up to talk to this. Dr. Vasquez, I believe you're on the board.
I'm fine.
Okay. Then we will move to Veronica Villegas. If you're here, would you come, using the same rules that I'm outlawed. It's a long night. Outlined at the first of the meeting.
Good evening, Veronica Villegas. I'm here again to voice my support not only for 9K but 9J previously, and to voice my displeasure with 9K revised. I have sat through many of these meetings and have listened to all of the dialogue here at the dais and hear from Mr. Rios and Mr. Williams, and I have to tell you, first and foremost, I'm really outraged and disgusted by the farce that this process has turned into. You guys appointed a committee to do a job, you gave them criteria, and they did their job. What has happened now, and again, and if I am incorrect, please someone explain it to me differently, but what it appears is that there is a contingent of folks who believe that they need a higher percentage of minority majorities in their districts in order to get their, quote, candidate of choice elected. If 50.5% is good enough in District 3 to get those minority majorities elected, then I don't understand why certain factions believe they need to have percentages like 58% and 65% and 82%. My biggest concern is that it is diluting the vote. You're punishing, as Ms. Christine, the trustee from District 3 said, you're punishing folks who typically come out to vote. You are diminishing those folks' vote. That is honestly my biggest concern with this. You're punishing people who have traditionally turned out to vote. Secondly, the other thing that I find greatly offensive as a minority, and particularly as a Hispanic, is the notion that the only way Hispanics can elect another Hispanic is to manipulate the system. It's offensive to me. If that were true, then the trustee from District 8 would not have been elected. If you apply that same logic that a white voting majority is not going to elect another minority, then that trustee would not be sitting here today. Trustees have made, references to what happened in the 1960s. Folks, if we're ever going to move forward, we need to let some of that stuff go and think without color, and to truly elect folks who are here to serve our children, who are good candidates, and who are doing this for the right reason. Politics has no business in schools. It really doesn't. And I'm really just offended because I have worked side by side with many of these folks in the current District 9 and in the future District 8 who are in the trenches in their schools working for all children. all children. Doesn't matter what color they are. It's not just to benefit their own children. I've been just really appalled and disgusted by what's been going on here with the board. 9J and 9K, you've heard your legal counsel, you've heard the committee that you appointed to work on this tell you it's going to pass muster. Do not be bullied. I'm offended that you even want to trying to get a promise from him not to sue you. I say, let him bring it on.
The motion did not carry. There were 4. Please don't take it off so quick so I can read off.
May I make a motion?
That motion failed.
May I make a motion?
I'm not sure. Well, no, just don't take it off so quick. Okay. Bertha, now, the amended motion failed.
No, the motion to table, to postpone.
Okay, that failed, so that we go back to Carlos's motion.
Yes.
Okay. Now we're back to Dr. Vasquez's motion that was seconded, and as I understand it, it is to accept plaintiff's compromise to. Excuse me?
I'm sorry.
Am I interrupting you, Judy?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. We're back to Dr. Vasquez's motion to accept plaintiff's compromise to.
I withdraw my motion.
Okay, he withdraws his motion. So now we're back to
Your motion to adopt.
the original motion that was to adopt.
Wait a second. I thought we were going to table this.
Well, the motion failed.
No, but I'm saying, can't we do, I thought we were doing the tabling for that part, not for the other area.
No, the whole thing. The motion.
I think Dr. Sutherland was confused, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, but she was talking that she was tabling the 19 rewrite.
Bertha, is there a problem down there with Dr. Sutherland's vote previously?
I don't know. Because the motion was to postpone.
Right. To another date.
Yes.
Consideration of the adoption of redistricting plan.
That's right.
Okay. There were 4 in favor, there were 4 against, and Dr. Sutherland abstained.
The motion failed.
The motion failed.
I'll change my vote.
It's too late. It's too late.
Well, under the rules, I think as long as we're still haven't moved on to another thing, she can do that, can't she?
I'll have an answer for you in just a moment. A change of vote is permitted before the result is announced.
Okay, then, did I understand you to say a voter can change their vote prior to it being announced?
Yes.
Okay, the vote has been announced then.
Yes.
The motion fails. We're back to Carlos's motion, which the last I heard you say you withdrew.
No, I'll keep my motion. I mean,
Are you?
no, I don't withdraw.
Your motion, you want your motion
Yes,
still on?
I want
Okay.
my motion to stand table.
Okay, would you repeat your motion so everybody knows
He
what?
withdrew it. He withdrew his motion.
Well, I make a new motion then.
Well,
Norm, is that what
no,
you
let's vote on the original motion, and then you can do something.
Voted up or down?
I mean, we're good. Bertha, is there any reason why we cannot vote on Dr. Vasquez's motion?
What? He withdrew it.
Well, but he did, but he didn't. Well, if he withdrew his motion, can he legally remove it? No, I mean, not remove it.
Because I want to
but
make some changes. to the
Remotion.
I think I can make a new motion.
You could, yeah, okay.
I'd like to make a new motion, that's why I withdrew.
I'm going to change your motion, whatever it is.
Well, you go right ahead, Norm, you have the right. I don't have a problem with this.
Okay.
Up it is toast.
Whether he can, with a motion that is withdrawn, but it can be renewed. So, except when the rules-
I'd like to make a
Wait,
motion
wait,
to be
wait.
postponed.
Let me see something.
But that's a motion that just failed.
So you can make another motion, another board member can make another motion?
They can make them, well, but the motion that you're wanting to make, that you just said, just failed 4 to 1.
I'm asking.
Let me look at the chart and see if that can be renewed.
Bertha, can,
Hold on.
during the same meeting, Bertha,
Uh-huh.
during the same meeting, after this motion has failed, can a board member make a motion to reconsider that motion?
Reconsider is not the right word.
Well-
The idea is whether it can be renewed, and that's
What is the right word?
That's,
You can withdraw your motion, or you can put your motion back on the
reconsider.
table. We have a spot on our voting machine that says that a motion.
You all have gone into some territory that's a little bit beyond my expertise, so I need to look here and see. 160. I'll be with you in just a moment. If you all would just give me a moment.
I apologize for the delay, but the seriousness of this matter, even though we're kind of giggling about it, the seriousness of this matter is very, very important. And I ask you to bear with us because we need to get it right.
On the prevailing side, see, that's the problem with the motion to reconsider. That much I do know, because the motion, there was no prevailing side. You can only make a motion to reconsider if you are on the prevailing side.
Okay, then what can we do?
If you want, there's another motion that you could make that you could, and there are two different motions, and I know it sounds very similar, but once again, you can make a motion to take it from the table, which is not the same thing as postponing to a certain date. Those are two different motions.
Okay. Like we did the last time.
Yes.
But there isn't anything on the table.
Yes, there is.
No, we already took it off.
No, his motion is still on the table.
He took it off.
But you already said that I could.
He would, okay, Carlos, let's say that you withdrew your motion, then anybody can make a substitute motion at this point in time. Is that right?
But when he withdrew his motion, doesn't the original motion, can't we vote on the
Yes,
original
we're back to the
motion?
original, we're back to the original motion, but as I understand it, anybody that chooses to on this board can amend it or make another motion, up to and including tabling the doggone thing once again.
I'd like to make a motion to take it off the table. To table it, yes.
Okay, we have a motion to table the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
K, what he's doing is taking K off the table, right?
The whole thing.
The whole thing.
We have a motion from Dr. Vasquez and a second from Mr. Rangel, I believe, to table the matter. And as I understand it, Bertha, there's no debate on this. We just vote, right?
That, what he's laying on the table is your motion that said we adopt K.
Right.
That is what is going to be laid on the table. Let me make that perfectly clear.
That's right, because he withdrew his other motion.
Yes.
All right, so we're back to the same place we were 2 weeks ago. We have a motion to table the original motion by Dr. Vasquez, a second by Mr. Rangel. And as I understand the rule now, the motion to table is not debatable.
That
We just
is
need to vote on
absolutely
it.
correct.
Okay.
Vote it up or down.
Let's move to voting.
Yeah, so we're going to see, we're going to vote the table.
You are tabling the vote on which Mr. Dickerson originally proposed, which is to adopt map 9K.
Right, okay.
We now have a motion to lay that on the table, which has been,
Everybody voted? Yeah, I believe everybody's voted. Let's reveal the vote.
I gotta object to my colleagues on either side of me telling each other how they're supposed to vote. That's not good. They've been talking back and forth as to how they should vote on each individual instance. Well, It is a big deal, Carlos. Yeah, look at your phone records. You have,
Okay, let's get back to maybe acting as adults here for a while. The motion, please display it. Motion to table the matter carries 5-4 with Miss Jackson. Mr. Dickerson, Miss Jackson, Miss Jackson, Miss Needham, Mr. Dickerson, pardon? And Robbins all voted no. Okay.